Welcome to the Personal Trainers Who Care podcast. My name is Catherine Marion, and I am a trainer and manager at our Freeform Fitness Wellington location. And I will also be your host as we get to know another member of our incredible team. Here we share the stories of our personal trainers because at the heart of every fitness business is a passionate individual who cares about changing lives and helping others to realize their full health potential. This podcast is a production of Freeform Fitness, a boutique-style personal training studio with 6 locations across Ottawa, Canada. Here, we hire the very best personal trainers. They are ambitious, hardworking team players who know how to get their clients results. Our trainers provide expert personal training services in studio and also online, and every program is tailored to the individual needs of the client. If you would like to know more about Freeform Fitness, be sure to visit us at freeformfitness.ca. Today, for our 8th episode, we're going to talk to Patrick Gorrell. He's a personal trainer at our Glebe location. Pat has been with Freeform Fitness since March 2016 and brings much knowledge to the team. Aside from his personal training certifications, Pat also has a functional range conditioning certification and is a level 2 precision nutrition coach. We're going to ask him about all of that shortly. Interesting fact, Pat regularly describes himself as geeky. His words, not mine. Welcome to today's edition of the Personal Trainers Who Care podcast. Hey, Pat, how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you so much for joining me today. So when I read your bio, I thought, I need to ask you, what does that mean that you're geeky?
I'm just like into a lot of stuff that people would consider calling me a nerd. I really, really like Star Wars and various other fandoms.
I love it. My sons would bow down because in other words, it means that they're quite geeky as well, because those are their favorite
Mhm.
things as well.
And the reason I was told this once a really long time ago to call myself a geek and not a nerd, because geeks are cool and nerds aren't cool, I think is the reasoning. And I think it's like geeks, like other stuff besides just
I love it.
fandoms. Yeah.
Well, there you go. Listen, to me, it sounds like there's a lot of fun going on in your life, so I like it. It's very all right. So let's shift into your personal training journey. So,
Okay.
from what I understand, is you were actually a karate coach for a long, long time, like almost 15 years.
Yeah. Yeah. So I started karate when I was about 7 years old. Um, my parents were very pro putting us in sports, and again, going tying back to my like geekiness, really liked the Ninja Turtles. The funny thing is that I never was able to watch the Ninja Turtles because my parents didn't let me watch TV, but I liked the idea of the Ninja Turtles. So my parents were like, "Oh, why don't you try karate?" And I was like, "Okay, sure." Um, and I guess I loved it, so I stuck with it. I got my junior black belt when I was 11. I was in grade 6, so whatever
Yeah.
grade 6 was. And then I just continued with it. And one of the big um, encouraging things that your dojo encourages you to do when you're in karate is give back, right? So you're somebody that has more knowledge. So you work with people that are under you. As a brown belt, I would be teaching blue belts or lower stuff. As a black belt, I would be teaching brown belts or lower stuff. And I remember this was like a really important moment in my life. And he probably doesn't even remember, but my sensei, one day when I showed up early to help teach class, because I really enjoyed doing that, came up to me and said, "Pat, you know why I ask you to teach all the time?" And I said, "I have no idea." And he's like, "Because you're very good at it."
Wow.
And that kind of just stuck with me. And
How old, do how old do you think you were when he told you that? Was that in grade 6?
I was probably 11 or 12. Yeah. So that really stuck with me. And it's something that I've always just remembered. So eventually he transitioned me from just teaching others during class to leading classes. Um, And then I worked at a few various. So the dojo that I was associated with is a franchise. So I got asked to work for pay at other locations throughout Ottawa. So I've been teaching or leading classes since I've been 13 years old.
Great.
So yeah,
That's really exciting. Okay, so is it fair to say that that's where your love of coaching began? Is through
yeah, yeah. And my love for being active for sure. I knew throughout high school I probably had a little bit of ADD. Like there was always something else on my mind besides schoolwork. I always wanted to move, or I didn't want to be in school. So I knew that whatever job I had in the future, um, it needed to be something that wasn't sitting at a desk all day.
Yeah. All right, then. So when do you decide, okay, not only am I going to coach karate, but I'm going to coach individuals, in a personal training capacity?
So I was probably about 24 or 25, and the coaching karate had kind of run its course for a few different reasons. And I was kind of at a standstill and just working in a warehouse for my sensei, who I'm very thankful for that opportunity. Um, and I was sitting in an apartment with my then girlfriend, who we're not together with anymore.
Okay.
And I was just going through Algonquin College courses because I didn't want to work in a warehouse for the rest of my life. And fitness and health promotions came up from Algonquin, and it kind of just stuck out to me, which was, it wasn't about personal training, but it was about helping people become healthier individuals, and that really resonated with me. And I was like, okay, I'll take it. It's a 2-year course. It sounds like, right up my alley. And during it, personal training was essentially one of the topics. And I was like, I'm really into this. I can see how this is very similar to teaching karate. Um, I really like it, and it helps it it helps people become healthier people. So that's kind of where it started.
Amazing. Well, listen, fast forward, so you have that personal training degree with Algonquin, and then you land, a job. But it doesn't stop there for you, because again, when I look through your bio, which is up on our website, you've got a lot of certifications. Like, you didn't stop learning. You just wanted, there's so much more that you wanted to do. Why was that important to you? We'll talk about what they are and how you use them, but why was it important to you to keep learning?
So I think it kind of goes back to my karate mentality. So in my mind, I was really good at a lot of things in karate, specifically teaching, and that's because I was really into breaking everything down and trying to get it like to almost like perfect. And I just, I'm a perfectionist, I guess. So I'm not satisfied with just going through the motions and teaching people what seems to be right. I want to know that I'm right. So in my in my opinion, I think the best way of doing that is continuing education, taking a variety of courses and learning from people that are better than you, right? And then leveling up like what you would through a karate belt system. So I'm always taking something, whether it be just like a small course, or like, one that changes the way I do coaching.
Well, okay, so let's talk about two of them. So, what is functional range conditioning? What's that all about?
So functional range conditioning is a course from Functional Anatomy Seminars. It was one that I took 2 years ago, and it's um, around healthy joints and joint mobility. Um, Essentially, what it is training your joints as opposed to stretching. So, like, if you were to do a static stretch, you would hold something for 2 minutes, and then um, that would increase your flexibility. Okay. So, flexibility is what you can do passively. So, if I were to take my arm and grab it with my other hand and bring it over my head, without doing anything with this arm, that's my passive range of motion. Okay. So passive range of motion is good. But from a training perspective, if you go into your passive range of motion, it increases your risk of injuring yourself. So what you want to do is bridge the gap between active range of motion and passive range of motion. Okay. So functional range conditioning is a mobility system, not a flexibility system, a mobility system that helps bridge that gap so that your end range of motion, so as far as I can go this way or as far as I can go the other way, gets smaller so that I decrease my risk of injury. Um, there is an increased flexibility aspect to it as well, but that's the nitty gritty essentially.
Okay, that's super interesting. Now, I think someone listening might say, wow, this must be something that you can only do with, a very fit, very young, very athletic person. Is this a method that you can use with all of your clients?
Yeah, I would say it's just like anything, it can be regressed or progressed to suit the individual. Um, the one downside to it is that it can take a lot of time and it does require a lot of practice. So I do use it sometimes, but I wouldn't use it as much as I would like to because I don't feel 100% comfortable working with a lot of people with it yet because I still feel like I'm figuring out what I'm doing with it. Um, but it worked. I would say like I could see a lot of benefit with elderly population with it. It's a very safe um, method that can help increase strengthening hips and shoulders and spine,
Yeah.
which a lot of elderly people sometimes need help with, or even athletes who um, are very quick and you know powerful and accidentally take their joints into extreme ranges of motion, which is what causes injury. um, so yeah, I think it could benefit everyone.
Wonderful. Now, the big one is your precision nutrition. So, I've looked at that course. I have not taken it. This is not a weekend thing. This is an in-depth. I dare say difficult. I mean, it's worth it, but it's not. It's not an easy course. And you're a level 2 precision nutrition coach. I know what it is, but tell everybody at home what that means.
So a precision nutrition coach just means that I know a little bit more than the average person about nutrition, and I know how to coach it properly with a very good method. And it's mostly based around changing your habits as opposed to um, just throwing a bunch of stuff in your face, I guess, for lack of a better term. Um, so level 1 teaches you the basics about nutrition. I wouldn't say it's one of the biggest misconceptions about precision nutrition coaching, I would say, is that it's a nutrition course. Even though nutrition is in the name, you learn a lot of important fundamentals uh, on nutrition and also good resources on how to increase your knowledge. But primarily, it's how to coach nutrition better. And honestly, it can be applied to not only nutrition but other aspects of coaching. And I would like to say that it really fundamentally shaped how I coach people.
Okay, can you give us an example? How do you think that having this course, in your arsenal, how does that change? What does it bring? How do you use it, and how do you bring it to your clients?
So, funny enough, another YouTube video that got posted today was about how to make good goals. Um, so it kind of ties into that. Coming up with a good outcome goal is good, but I generally want like a behavior goal. So what that means is, um, I want to lose weight, as an example.
Yep.
Not me specifically, but as a client, I want to lose some weight. Okay. So that's very general. Like, how much weight would you like to lose? Okay. So let's say it's like 10 pounds. Okay. Like 10 pounds is more realistic goal. And like a lot of modern research says that as a male, if you're trying to lose weight with purpose, losing 1 pound to 2 pounds a week is probably healthy. And then for women, it's about half a pound to 1 pound a week, which is pretty healthy. Okay. Um, so we can kind of give us a time frame with that, right? So let's say 10 weeks. Okay. Let's make it even easier, like 12 weeks. So now we have like a time frame for that. So now we're like, okay, that's a great goal. We have a time frame and it's very specific, but now how are we going to get there? Right? So let's create a roadmap. And that roadmap is going to be behaviors that you can do every single day. Okay. So one of the things that Precision Nutrition Level 1 talks about is behaviors that they recommend and habits that they recommend and why they're important. So I think at the end of the day, like calories in and calories out is the most important factor when it comes to weight loss. But there's also other things that can affect that, right? So recognizing your hunger cues, that's a very important skill. So, if someone has never learned those skills and is a new person to coach, a beginner to coaching, you know, asking them, do you know what it's like to feel hungry? Are you actually hungry? So maybe like a good starting skill besides giving someone um, macros and expecting them to follow, which might help someone short term, would be eat when you're feeling 7 out of 10 hunger, right? And being like, and then so let's go back to that roadmap. Okay, so the overhead is I want to lose 10 pounds. So let's branch that down. Okay, so one of the branches is okay, I need to eat less. Okay, so how would you eat less? Well, breaking that down a little bit more, I need to eat when I'm hungry, right? Not eat out of habit. Eat when I'm hungry. Okay. All right, that's great. So now let's work on that behavior or habit for the next 2 weeks, right? Um, some people might think that's too easy, but that means that's a great habit for you to work on, right? If you don't have to think about it and it's something new to you, that's the perfect thing for you. That's the perfect spot for you to start. Another really important one. Um, are you eating until you're full, or are you eating because what's on your plate? Right. So again, recognizing that hunger cue, eating less. So, stopping eating when you're 80% full versus eating whatever's on your plate.
Eating until you have to untie your pants, right?
Right. That's not what you want. Like generally, like again, scientifically, your body takes a while for that signal from your stomach to reach your brain to recognize that you're full. So if you're eating and you like, oh my goodness, I'm full, put it. This would be an interesting experiment for people at home. Would be to start a timer and for 10 minutes, and then think about how you feel after 10 minutes. Are you still feeling the same fullness, or are you feeling more full, right? Or are you feeling like you overate, right? It takes a long time for your brain to recognize that it's full, right? So yeah, like just important things like that. And then like, other small habits is like, working on sleep, working on eating more vegetables, working on eating more protein, stuff like that, right? It doesn't have to be as difficult as some people make it
Or fear.
or here, right? It should any change in life is hard. So it's a lot better to make it easier it yeah. I think one of my biggest pet peeves in people's expectations of going unhealthy to healthy is that it's a light switch. and it should be more like a dial, right? It should be like, okay, I'm starting at 0 and I'm slowly ramping up. And that dial can fluctuate throughout your life, but there's too much of an all or nothing approach in a lot of things these days, I think.
Yeah. I think when I listen to you speak, I think it reminds us that oftentimes people assume that if you're going to see a personal trainer, you're going to lift weights, and that's it. You're coming into our studios, and we've got barbells and dumbbells, and But when you're training with a coach, it's more than that. It's about everything you just talked about. So yes, we want to lose some weight for some people. For others, we've had clients who want to gain weight. There's both ends of mobility and habits and sleep and food, and are you eating well, and do you understand your bodily cues? All of that falls into the health and fitness sphere, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
I think
it's not just about lifting weights, right? It's if you want to be a healthier person, going to the gym for an hour, as an example, an hour 3 times a week, isn't going to make you healthier, right? There's a lot more to it than that. In fact, the other amount of hours it is in a week, I don't want to do math right now, are probably more important than what you do in the gym, right? As we know.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we talked about all of this and your specialties and how you bring that to your clients. Is this something that you can apply to, again, pretty much everyone? Like whether someone is a beginner or whether someone is a pro who's been training their whole life?
Are we talking like precision nutrition methods kind of thing?
Your movement, your movement capabilities or knowledge, your nutrition knowledge, your coaching knowledge, you can apply all of this to any age group, couldn't you?
Yeah, for sure. Every human is different, but we're also all humans, right? We almost all the time abide by similar rules.
Interesting. Well, listen, it's been a strange year for us, right? We're still in the midst of a pandemic. The physical gym is not open, but we are training clients virtually, and so there's some stuff happening. But what about you? How are you keeping yourself healthy? I read that you're very interested in kettlebells, and so that's sort of your focus. So tell me about that.
So to get into a little bit more specifics with kettlebells, I'm really interested in hard style kettlebells. So there's a few different styles of kettlebell training. Hard style really appeals to me, and I think that again comes from the martial arts background. Okay. So hard style is about creating and keeping tension and also power expression. And I think it's a great tool. They're small and compact. They don't take up a lot of space, and you can do a lot with them, right? So I think that's why they're really appealing to me. And a bunch of the exercises functionally also make a lot of sense. I'm not saying that I'm a kettlebell person because I use all tools in the gym, but it was just an experiment that I wanted to do for the last 2 years because of COVID.
Yes.
So I already had a few at home because, again, my philosophy is if I'm going to make anybody do something, I better be able to do it first. And that's how figuring stuff out and practicing on myself is how I gain knowledge. And I feel like I'm a better I coach it better after I've had some time with it myself. So I had a 35, and I had a 35 pound, I had a 44 pound, and I had a 53 pound at home already at the beginning of the pandemic. And I had a few books of hard style kettlebell stuff, and I'm like, oh, why not? I'll just follow a few of these programs and do them at home in my backyard. And it's been a pretty great year.
Well, you've made the best of it. I mean, we're close. You're still working out on something new.
I think my arms have not been bigger since I followed a very strict kettlebell program for the last like 2 years, and it like literally for the last like 2 years I've only been doing like 4 different exercises, like total, like not 4 exercises a workout, like the 4 same exercises for the last like year and a half.
Well, listen, speaking of 4 same exercise for a year and a half, hopefully in the next 21 days-ish, we should be able to open our doors. So a lot of our clients are maybe coming back and they feel like they've fallen off the wagon, right? Like they're just so far back, they haven't lifted anything, because not everyone has heavy things to lift at home.
That's true.
You know, they feel things, they're not as strong, they don't move as well. Some have, you know, certainly my clients have said they put on some weight, right? They're not even walking to their car, to their business, to their office, you know, all of that has sort of diminished. So how do we start? Do you tell your clients, okay, we're going to start over, or do you say we're just going to back up a little bit and start a little bit far? How are you going to start again once we're allowed to go back to that? Go back to training in person, I mean.
Well, again, it depends on where you're coming from, right? So if you're somebody who's already a Freeform Fitness member and you've been working with a trainer, you're realistically, you're not going to be exactly where you are when you left, but you're still better off than somebody that's never exercised before in their life, right? So, if you've been working with a trainer for 3 months or 2 months or 1 month, hopefully you've picked up on some healthy habits that, over COVID that you continued to practice, and benefited from. And, other side of the coin, is it unrealistic to think that, it was a hard last year and a half? Like maybe you should just give yourself a break and, take a few deep breaths and just be like, I am going to be healthier again. And the last year and a half was tough.
But we're ready for you. The good news is,
yeah, we're ready. We're ready. I miss every single one of my clients. I hope I get to see everybody again.
The same. It's like, come on back. Plus, it's like, we're still doing all the safety protocols. We still have the masks and we're being very cautious and everything. But every time someone comes in, I'm like, can I hug you? I know I'm not supposed to do that.
Yeah, I really want to. I it's like I'm lacking human interaction.
Exactly. All right. So we know what you're doing in your downtime. We know that you're using some of the kettlebells, and apparently your wife thinks that you're very good at making a mess when you eat.
Yeah, I'm probably borderline. I'm pretty clumsy. I unintentionally make many messes around the house, whether it be getting food all over myself or, we've been painting a room. I get paint in weird places and stuff. I don't know.
So much fun. Okay, so listen. If someone is inspired to, or listening to us right now, is inspired to get to know you and to train with you, where are some of the places that they can find you?
So I only have a personal Instagram really that I post stuff on. Sure. If you're looking for me online, it's just literally P Gorrell. But if we're being honest, most of the pictures are of my cat. So
okay, we should talk about the pet situation, because your family, I mean, when you all get together, if all your pets are there, I mean, there's birds and dogs and cats and there's a lot of pets in your family.
Yeah, my family are very big animal lovers. Like as long as I can remember, we've always had 3 dogs in the house. When I was born, my parents had 2 border collies. And then we got a third when we were, I can't remember exactly, maybe 8 or 9. So it was a very energetic, full house already. And then ever since that point, unfortunately one of our dogs have passed away, we've somehow adopted another, and it's not even on purpose. Like like literally there was one of our dogs. His name was Vader, literally followed my dad home and walked in the house and was like, I live here now.
Oh,
and
gosh, I love that story.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. That seems to happen a lot.
I love it. But parrots? Who's got the parrots?
My mother right now. So my mother, I would say, is the biggest animal lover out of all of us, even though we all really love animals, and she has a heart of gold,
Oh,
and she really loves rescuing animals. So animals that are unwanted or not wanted anymore. So both of the parrots are rescues.
beautiful.
Um, hmm.
I love birds. I have to admit, I think your mom and I would get along famously. I love birds. Love
They're very sweet. The rescue parrot. So one's a small parrot and one's a big parrot, and I don't know the exact breed. But the bigger one is kind of going through like a trust learning phase right now. Like they're getting a lot better, but like she can't really be out of her cage too much
it.
because she gets angry at everyone. So yeah.
That's fabulous. Well, listen, I love that you got all those pets in your in your life.
Hmm.
You guys are, yeah, that's, kids and pets all mixed together. I love it. That's a lot of energy you guys have in your household.
Yeah, it's definitely a really full, loud house when we all get together.
So good. Love it. Okay, so before we go, I've got a couple of rapid fire questions I just want to throw at you, and you answer them in any which way you'd like.
Okay.
Um, we'll see where this takes us. All right. So, what is something that you know now that you wish you knew when you first started personal training?
Like I said earlier when you were talking about precision nutrition, a lot of their habits that they try to instill in their coaches, um, and realizing that it's the journey is more important than the destination, right? So and taking the time to making sure that the people you work with pick up important skills as opposed to just giving them the answer right away. Um,
I like that.
yeah,
Awesome.
yeah.
That's really good. Okay. Number two, imagine a beginner. What's the first skill you teach a beginner, a new client, never been in the gym, brand spanking new, is like, I'm ready here with? What's the first skill you like to teach a beginner?
This might shock you, but how to breathe properly.
Really? Why is that
Uh, so a lot of mobility issues stem from stress and like injury and trauma and stuff like that too, but sometimes the ability to gain more flexibility or mobility comes from really bad breathing mechanics, and the body needs oxygen in order to survive. So if you don't breathe well, um, your body goes into constant stress, parasympathetic. That's correct, right? No, sympathetic. One of the two. I can't remember which one right now. You have me on the spot. So your body your nervous system at that point in time is just like, my only instinct right now is to survive. So I'm not trying to learn new skills here, right? So one of the first things I assess with every single new client is, can you breathe through your diaphragm, and can you breathe slowly, and can you breathe through your nose?
Okay, so
Uh,
how many do you think of all the people that you meet, let's say out of 10, how many do you think do it right out of 10?
oh, that's
You
like
think like,
two out of 10, I would say, maybe 2 out of 10. Yeah,
so,
it's very shocking. And when I first started kind of going down this rabbit hole, I was like, oh, surely it can't be this many people, and it is, and a lot of the time it's just the postures we put ourselves in every single day, right? So like I'm sitting at a chair right now, hunched over at a desk. Um, that closes off my abdomen, creates less room for me to breathe. So I'm, instead of using my diaphragm to expand and cause my lungs to create more room, um, my rib cage has to expand instead. They're a lot shallower breaths, and then also like a lot of neck and shoulder issues can be from that because instead of making room down in my stomach that's supposed to expand, my shoulders come up and down all day like this because my lungs need to expand, right? And then on top of that, you're not going to get any flexibility gains if you can't breathe into the position, right? So, one of the biggest besides, one of the many goals that people come to us with besides um fat loss or like strength gain or hypertrophy is I want to be out of pain, right? And a lot of the time pain is a mobility issue, and in order to work on mobility you need to breathe well.
It's interesting because when you were describing that, sort of sitting at a desk, hunched over, think about everyone who works at a computer all day. This is
Yeah.
the position that I see, so many people come in and the neck is forward and their shoulders are in and everything is forward. And then there's so much limitation in this little zone here across the chest and the back. And
Hmm.
there you go. And breathing, opening
Yeah.
up. That's fascinating. Love it.
And then also, when it comes to weight loss, I'm we'll figure this out by the end of the podcast. But when you're in your rest, that like the name calls it, rest and digest. You need to digest your food in order to absorb the nutrients in order to benefit your body.
Okay.
If you're in a constantly stressed state, you are not resting and digesting,
Interesting.
right? So making your breathing mechanics better can help reduce that stress, and you can see results from that. And it's a skill you can practice at home. You don't have to work with a trainer. Um,
Love it. Now,
and, and
you're not saying, because my husband's going to listen to you say, see, I can nap after I have dinner. That's what he's going to tell me. I'm going to be, I don't think that's what Pat meant.
No, that's not what I meant. It means just practicing breathing through your diaphragm and being mindful of how you're feeling. And it's just, am I feeling tight and wired up, or am I feeling like I'm melting into the floor and relaxed, right? If you're feeling like you're melting into the floor and relaxed, you're probably in a parasympathetic state.
Beautiful. Oh my gosh, that's so fascinating. Okay, last question. I have a feeling we could talk about this forever. This whole
Yes, I can talk about breathing a lot. I think it's very important, and I honestly probably don't talk to my clients enough about it.
Okay, well, note to self, right? Let's do more of that. All right, last
Mm-hmm.
question. I think we may have answered this one just now. What do you think your most valuable skill, coaching skill, is? What's that you bring to your everyday clients?
Okay, so hopefully from this podcast, knowledge, you can tell, is one of them.
Absolutely.
But I'm also I don't know. I'm open to train anyone, right? If you're a beginner, intermediate, or advanced, I always view it myself as a learning experience. But I'm also like a judgment free coach, and I try to understand you as a person. Um, as especially as a beginner, coming and seeing a personal trainer is very is a very nervous, scary experience, and I try to take that away from people and be an open and warm coach that people know they can depend on. I strive for that to be my biggest skill, and I hope that's my biggest skill. Above anything else, even my knowledge. I think if you're working with someone that's a jerk, and you're gonna get nowhere, even if they are the smartest person in the whole world. You want a coach that understands you and what you want, and then also gives you a break when you make a mistake, because we're all human.
I think that hearing you say all of this, it just brings me back a little bit to what we do at Freeform Fitness, where when we say it's personal training to the individual, it's not cookie cutter. You're not,
Mm-hmm.
people come into the gym, they're not going to get, Pat is not going to be the same Pat, in the 10 clients that you see that day. There'll be someone who needs one thing and then someone who needs something else. And we tailor what we do to the person in front of us, to what they need themselves, right?
Yeah, I as a coach, and this is something that I've definitely had to work on, because every coach wants to feel smart, is listening to the client, hearing what they want to accomplish and what they think is the best approach, and then offering suggestions, right? It, it should be a client-centered experience. I would be the best way to put it, and not a coach-centered experience. It's not about me, it's about you, right? When you come in and you pay me money, it's about you and what you want to accomplish. It's not about me and what I want you to accomplish.
Beautiful. Any last words? Because I have a feeling you and I could chat for a whole other hour together before we sign off. Is there anything else you'd like to add, Pat?
Um, Something that I mentioned earlier. Um, Members of Freeform Fitness, it's been a tough year and a half. Give yourselves a break. Like the COVID-5 and the COVID-10 or whatever they're calling it these days may have happened, but was a really once in a lifetime experience. Hopefully that happened in the last year and a half. It's very, even though it may, different levels of degree for people on that experience, it was pretty traumatic, like the world changed quite a lot. So like, just give yourself a break. Like, don't be so hard on yourself. Easier said than done, I know, but if you do that, I think that you're probably more open to change than some of the other stuff that's going on. Right? Not everyone has the same resources.
It's such a positive message, right? Just deep breath, go back to your breathing, and, and then we got you.
Yeah. Accept that last year was tough.
Yeah.
Give yourself a break, and then to move forward. Right? That's literally all you can really do. Yes. You can't dwell on what happened in the last year and a half.
Yeah. Fabulous. Listen, thank you so much, Pat. This has been so much fun, so much knowledge. I'm going to invite everyone to either to check you out on your Instagram. You can also find Pat on our Freeform Fitness website. You can see a little bit of his bio there. And so thanks again, Pat, for sticking with me during this time and answering all of these questions.
No problem.
Anyone at home wants to know more information, be sure to, like I said, check out all of our podcasts. You can see the past ones that we've had where we talk to some of our other trainers. While you're there, you can you can subscribe, you can even include some comments and some questions. We always enjoy answering your questions. And that's it. That's it for today's edition. We will see you next time. See you then. And there you have it. A great big thank you to Pat for joining us today and sharing so much of his knowledge. And thank you at home for watching. Be sure to check out our past podcasts to get to know more members of our fabulous team. And while you're here, make sure to like and subscribe for more great health and fitness content. And you can even leave us a comment. We always enjoy responding to those. So that's it for today. We'll see you next time.